What's up, friends? My name is John. I'm one of the mechanics here at FLX, and today we are going to be setting up a brand new Babymaker II.
First, we got to get this box open. I'm going around cutting all the box ties and removing the box staples. We want to lift out the seat, the bike box, the front wheel, lift those all out of the way to make it easier to remove the bike out of the box. There's the front tire. That one's gonna come unattached. The rear tire is already attached to the bike. We lift it out and we're getting it on the stand.
So to start, we have to carefully remove a bunch of zip ties. I prefer to use snips instead of scissors because the cutting edge at the tip of scissors just isn't very good for getting through zip ties. So with your snips, you can easily get the end right under and snip the tie without causing any damage to the bike. All right, so first things first, we've got our bike taken out. We've got all the protective foam off. We're gonna wanna start by putting the handlebar on the bike. You're gonna need your number 4 Allen wrench to do so. All right, so you wanna make sure that your handlebars are right side up. So the front brake line is gonna be going to the left side here. And just make sure your lines are not tangled. Don't worry about getting the bars perfect now because we're gonna come back and align them later.
Now we're unscrewing the through axle because we need to grease it up.
We're gonna take our front axle and prep it with a little bit of all-purpose grease. Get a little bit along, not too much. And then you want some grease in the threads to prevent them from seizing later on. All right, so for installing the wheel, you have to remove the brake caliper spacer. Be careful not to squeeze your left brake after this is removed, otherwise the pads will close. You're gonna wanna slot the wheel right in between, making sure that the disc brake is on the same side as the brake caliper. Slide it right in and secure it with the axle. So once that is in, you're gonna screw it into place. The threads are on this side. That's joined. And then once it's snug, you're gonna wanna fold the lever over. So if it's too tight, if this is too tight, this is gonna be very difficult to push in. So what you're gonna wanna do is push it back out, loosen that a little bit, and then reposition it and try and close it. You're gonna wanna give your wheel a quick spin to see if the pads are rubbing. And if they are, we take our Torx 25 tool.
And I'm cracking the 2 nuts holding the caliper onto the fork so that I can loosen the caliper and wiggle it around a little bit. What I'm looking for is I'm staring into the back of the caliper and I'm looking for a little bit of light on each side of the pads. So then I re-tighten the 2 nuts and check for rubbing sounds.
Be careful working around moving spokes. You don't want to catch your fingers in there, so be very careful. You want to stop the wheel before you have to adjust it from this side. Next, we're going to install our pedals. Let's get those out of the box. So we have our pedals. We want to be mindful of which side is left and right. We're going to put a little bit of grease on the threads so that those don't seize also. You want to get it started before you use your tool from the other side. It's a 6mm. And we're gonna tighten that. And these happen to tight reverse, so you're spinning it to the left. That's counterclockwise. The left side spins clockwise. we just want to check the belt tension. We've got a little bit of movement here. That's good. That's fine. We don't want it to be too tight, but we also don't want it to be so loose that it'll jump off the crank. So it's a fine middle ground. We're going to check the rear brake now.
So I'm giving the tire a spin, listening to the rotor scrape against pads. If I'm hearing this, I'm gonna take my Torx tool and I'm gonna crack the two nuts like I did with the front fork, and it's the same process. I'm basically looking for gaps on the side and trying to remove any rubbing noise. I'm greasing up the seat post to prevent it from seizing to the frame, and for the lever, we want it to be tight enough that it holds the seat in place, but not so tight that you can't close the lever.
All right. So it looks like the initial setup is pretty much done. We just need to take the bike down now and make sure that the handlebars are all lined up. Yeah. We're gonna loosen the 2 pinch bolts at the back of the neck here. This will allow us to fix the alignment. And you just want to make sure that you have a visual line with the front wheel and the steering neck, and that they are both in alignment with each other. So I'm just making little adjustments until it looks straight. The brakes, we want to give those a squeeze now since both of the wheels are in place. Noticing that the brake lever is not reaching the handle, so that means we have brake pressure in the line. That's good, feels good. And the last thing we want to do is we want to make sure the tires are fully inflated up to 80 psi before we start rolling. And then we can do a safety check.
Now we're gonna go ahead and check our crank. So on the left side crank arms, those have the pinch bolts, so you wanna just make sure those are real good and snug. Now we're gonna pump up our tires. Make sure your tires are pumped up fully to 80 psi for the least amount of rolling resistance.
We've got our bike all assembled. Everything looks good. We've checked the tightness of our cranks. We've checked the alignment. Everything seems good. We're ready to go out for a spin.
When you take it out for the first time, you're gonna wanna pedal and stop, pedal and stop. This will help bed in the brake pads and prepare it for regular use.